spiritual awakening itself is and always has only been about transforming your entire life. Spiritual awakening, if it's working, is only about a revolution in consciousness that does show up in every aspect of your life, in your relationships, in your work, in just how you engage every moment. That's what awakening is only about. And I'm saying this because a lot of us somewhere along the way been conditioned to think of awakening as an inner event that happens that we then need to translate into our outer life. It's like it happens on inside and now we have to move it outside. And there is a certain truth to that way of looking at it. There are ways we can, approach daily life that help facilitate bringing higher consciousness into our life. But there's a much deeper way to look at it as well that we really want to draw all of us into today.
Welcome to Meditation Changes Everything with spiritual teacher Craig Hamilton, a podcast exploring the deeper potentials of meditation practice and how it can change every aspect of human life. In this episode, Craig explores a challenge many of us face: how to bridge the gap between meditation and daily life. When we meditate, we step outside the usual flow of life. For a time, we're invited to pause, to release the need to control, and to simply allow things to be. In those moments, we may touch something vast, something free. But when we return to daily life, everything changes. Challenges arise, decisions need to be made, and suddenly those same postures don't seem to fit. So how do we bring awakening into action? How do we allow the deeper intelligence we touch in meditation to move through us in the middle of life's challenges? Today, Craig offers a fresh perspective on this dilemma, one that goes beyond trying to impose meditative states onto life, and instead reveals how awakening can naturally express itself in what we do. We hope you enjoy the show. Here's Craig.
Here we are to talk about what it means to live an awakened life, to unleash the infinite into our entire life. This question of how to transform our life outside of meditation is central for all of us because we live our life outside of meditation. Unless we're someone who's really left the world behind and we're spending our entire day, our entire life really on retreat in meditation. Most of our life occurs through engagement and activity, and that's where we spend our lives. And so we want to transform that, not just have deep spiritual experiences in meditation that we forget about the rest of the time and that have no influence over what we're doing. And I think this particularly arises as a question for many of us because, it particularly starts to come up when we start to have some profound experience in meditation, when we start to penetrate into some spiritual depth, have experiences of awakening. We realize there's something very significant there, and then maybe we notice often as we go through our day, we notice, I'm still kind of reacting to things in old ways, or very often it shows up as I'm losing touch with the depth that I discovered on that retreat. And then, somewhere, probably it's lingered for a while, and somewhere in the middle of our week at work or whatever, we're like, what happened to that? It was so profound and so clear. And now, and then we go through various reactions to that, trying to figure out how to get back to it. But I think that just the essential point is that if our practice is working, we're experiencing a deeper, truer reality, and it's natural to want to embody that depth throughout our life. And the thing we want to kind of start with, because we're going to talk, about some of the ways we go about trying to do that don't really work, and then the kinds of things we can do that do work. So we're going to go into this a number of ways, but starting out, we just wanted to step back in a sense and reflect on the fact that spiritual awakening itself is and always has only been about transforming your entire life. Spiritual awakening, if it's working, is only about a revolution in consciousness that does show up in every aspect of your life, in your relationships, in your work, in just how you engage every moment. That's what awakening is only about. And I'm saying this because a lot of us somewhere along the way been conditioned to think of awakening as an inner event that happens that we then need to translate into our outer life. And meditation can sort of reinforce that sometimes. It's like meditation, we're quote unquote going within, focusing on our inner experience and having certain transformations of our relationship to our experience and then naturally we see that as a separate domain that we're going to have to, move the awakening somehow. It's like it happens on inside and now we have to move it outside. And that tends to lead us to think that there are two different actions or two different processes. There's the process of awakening, and then there's the process of figuring out how to translate that awakening into action. And books have been written about that. So that's been reinforced in our contemporary spiritual culture. And there is a certain truth to that way of looking at it. There are ways we can, approach daily life that help facilitate bringing higher consciousness into our life. But there's a much deeper way to look at it as well that we really want to draw all of us into today. So one thing I know a lot of us do when we are trying to bridge the gap, I guess that'd be a good metaphor for what we're talking about today. Bridging the gap between what we've discovered in our deepest moments and our day-to-day reality. So one thing I know a lot of us do, it's a very natural response, is that we try to hold on to some state of higher consciousness that we've experienced in meditation. So meditation is this rarefied opportunity where we are able to completely step out of the flow of life and allow our consciousness to deepen. And naturally, we're going to have at times powerful experiences. Sometimes like a powerful experience of detached freedom and being uninvolved and seeing with great objectivity and clarity. Other times we might experience like this deep sacred love that just starts to bubble up, this profound inner freedom, the sense that I'm free in my nature, I'm free. The bondage I used to feel is an illusion. Anyway, one form or another of higher consciousness that happens in meditation, we then try to sustain it as we go through the day. We try to stay connected to it. And again, most of us find it just slips through our fingers. You can't hold on to some higher state of consciousness and just force it to linger, because states come and go. Another thing we often might do is we try in various ways to sort of conceptually apply some insight we had in meditation practice. So we have an insight in meditation of non-duality or oneness, or of non-separation. You say, wow, I had the experience that all the boundaries of self disappeared and I'm everywhere and I'm everyone, and there's no separate I. That was just a construct of my mind. I'm actually just part of this unified whole, or I am this unified whole. And then we try to not so much hold on to the experience, but we try to conceptually now work out, well, then how should I live based on this insight I had into the oneness of it all? So we will do things like we'll stop using the word I. You've probably known some spiritual people who did this. They won't say I or me anymore because they somehow, that seems counter to the meditative insight they had. Or, or we wonder, well, what is it, if we're all one, does that mean, I should just give away everything I have to everyone else because who am I to have possessions? Hopefully none of you have done that. But hopefully you have become more generous. But anyway, so it's this conceptual approach of trying to figure out how to bring it into life. Another thing some of us do is that we try to sort of take the meditation postures, the inner postures of direct awakening that we're working with here. We try to take them into activity in our daily life. And by that I mean, we're just, say, trying to let everything be at work. I'm just trying to let everything be while I go through life. Or, I'm trying to not make a problem out of things that happen in life. Or, I'm trying to not know anything as I, have to strategize and plan at my activities in the world. And you could probably hear just in what I'm saying why that couldn't work, because the meditation postures are so absolute that they can't be directly applied in that way to life. And so we find that doesn't really work either. And maybe the last thing I'll name is just that we often try to do enlightened behavior modification on ourselves by applying enlightened qualities or trying to practice being the kind of person that we think it would be more enlightened. So we're going to try to be more loving. We're going to try to be, more innocent. We're going to try to be more wise. And you could probably hear in everything I'm saying, that's not a bad thing. I mean, the world would certainly be better if everyone was trying to do any of those things. But none of these ways of going about bridging this gap really bridge the gap. And that isn't to say that there are not ways that we can bring spiritual practice into daily life. And I'm going to give an example of one way that is a real form of daily life practice that you can work with to take directly into your life. And it's something I call engaged inquiry practice. And the idea here is that for each of the kind of meditation postures that we work with, we can't try to take that directly to life in the way we do it in meditation. But there is a correlation, or there's a sort of analogous practice that we can work with in our daily life that just helps, you could say, sort of extend the posture into action. And I give you a few examples of what I mean, and then you could certainly work out some of the rest. So a moment ago I was saying you can't, truly just let things be, because that means not doing anything. And if you're out in the world, you have to do things. And so you're not letting things be, you're engaging. You're trying to cause things, make things happen. But that inner posture of allowing and letting be does translate. It translates into, it's something you can practice in life, a kind of analogous posture that's one of being very fluid and flexible. Instead of just imposing your agenda on everything, you're more responsive to what's happening rather than fighting against it by insisting that it shouldn't be that way. You're moving and flowing with life rather than trying to control everything that happens. So you can see that's not at all the same as letting things be in meditation, but it's a similar gesture, you could say, that you can do in action. Um, that letting things be also has an analogous expression as really facing the way things are, facing the truth, facing everything, not avoiding things. We're deeply conditioned, or we have all of our ego defenses and our cognitive biases that prevent us from seeing clearly. And we can actively work to see things more clearly, to question our biases, to question our assumptions, to be more with reality, which is, again, kind of analogous practice to the letting be. Or you could take another posture, of the posture of innocence that we've practiced in meditation, of not knowing, of not needing to know, letting go of the need to know. Again, it doesn't work to just absolutely apply that in life, but there is a practice of being of what you could call humility or open-mindedness and even interest that are analogous to this deep meditative posture of innocence, where we go into life and we really strive to not relate primarily from our preconceived ideas. We're more interested in what we don't know than what we already know. We're humble in the face of the things we don't know, and that brings us more, again, makes us more capable of seeing clearly and knowing what's true. We could look at this posture of immediacy, which is this no longer waiting for a future moment when we're going to finally let go and embrace our true nature. This practice of this is it, giving everything to this moment. Now, we've looked at that in meditation practice, but you could say there could be an outer posture of immediacy that we could bring into life, which would be no longer waiting for circumstances to align in such a way that we're gonna, and no longer waiting till we feel fully healed and fully confident, but instead taking the posture that I have everything I need right now to give myself fully to the life I'm living. And so I'm going to stop holding out for some other time when I'll be ready. It's like I'm stepping up to the plate now. The person I am now, with the insecurities I have now, with the doubts I have now, with whatever a level of ability and training and capacity, but I'm going to take the position that I'm already the person I need to be to meet the life I'm in, and so I'm going to stop holding back. And we can, through this practice, see all the ways that we have been holding back and not giving everything in life, just like we explored in meditation. So these are just a few examples of this kind of engaged inquiry practice where we don't try to stay in meditation during the day. We don't try to directly practice these absolute meditation postures during the day. We're not trying to hold on to awakened consciousness during the day in some, conceptual way or even just experiential way. But we're working with, we're discovering, we're exploring, like, what is the parallel, or what's an analog, what's the gesture in life that's aligned with this deeper truth or deeper, inner meditative awakening posture. And that is a form of practice that can support our awakening. It can help it stabilize to some degree. It can help us, start to bridge that gap. And so I encourage that. We're not offering like a course on that per se, but it's a whole, if you're interested in that way of approaching it, I do have some other programs where we go more into some of these things. But again, from the point of view of awakening itself, there is a deeper and bigger truth than, I'm going to go occupy myself with trying to come up with 20 different things to do during the day to try to be more enlightened. And to some degree, I think it's probably a a byproduct of the culture we live in. We live in a sort of, relative, very materialistic culture, let's face it. And part of that is a kind of, part of materialism. It's not just, I want more stuff, but it's that we're putting all of our value, we're investing our kind of belief in, a kind of gross level of things. And by gross, I don't mean icky. I mean, a kind of tangible, substantial, material dimension, which includes like the idea that I can make everything happen. I am the powerful one, and it's through conscious actions and choices I make that the world moves forward. It's part of that materialistic mindset, and that's not a bad thing, right? Of course, in life, that's part of what empowers us and gets us to actually do things, is the belief that we can make things happen and we have power. But awakening and even unleashing the qualities of awakened consciousness it doesn't really fundamentally work that way. There's an element of it that it does include that, but there's a much deeper element that has to do with getting out of the way so that a greater intelligence, a greater set of capacities, a deeper care, a deeper strength, a deeper willingness to trust, that there's just a completely different order of consciousness and of being than anything we can kind of cause through our willful effort that will begin to come through and express itself in all kinds of ways organically and naturally in our life, if we're really true to our practice, if we're really going all the way with our practice of meditation and of direct awakening, then that's unleashing this other thing that's really in many ways beyond our control. And that from a point of, again, both are relevant. That kind of self-directed personal change process is important in life. It's relevant. We're not, you can probably feel we're kind of trying to walk a delicate line, because we don't want to undermine the sense that we are empowered actors who can consciously choose to live more conscious lives, more loving lives, more present, more awake, less reactive, less conditioned, that there really is a dimension of life, of spiritual life, that includes that. But that I think what we're trying to really highlight and underline here is just that even all of that work can really only work to the degree that we are awakening, to the degree that we are becoming stabilized in awakened consciousness through radical surrender in our spiritual practice. And it's not just the foundation, and then you go and build this whole house on top of it. See, I think that's the paradigm we're trying to undermine or get behind a little bit. It's like, it's not just a foundation step and then you go on to other stuff. It's the source. It's the practice. I mean, the fundamental radical practice of stepping into the mystery, of letting go of the known, of leaving behind the agendas and perspectives of the ego, and stepping into a holistic, integrated super consciousness that is our own deeper nature. That's the point of spiritual life. That's what we're really here to do. That's the practice. And to the degree that we're doing that wholeheartedly and consistently in a sustained way, that's really what's going to unleash the kind of transformation that we're after. And even that it would be upon, it would be within that radical awakening that then these other pieces that we've mentioned, the more self-directed, choice making to align more with my awakening, that all of that would then only really work anyway to the degree that we're unleashing the infinite through radical direct awakening practice. So to just kind of bring this back home, I mean, living an awakened life only happens when we are genuinely stabilizing an awakened consciousness. And the most important thing that any of us can do to stabilize an awakened consciousness is to practice spending time in the postures of awakened consciousness every day, and not just every day, but in really deep and sustained practice as well.
This podcast is supported by our paying members in Craig's Awakened Life membership program. When you join the Awakened Life, each month you'll receive in-depth teachings and guidance in the practice of direct awakening, including a meditation workshop, 4 guided meditations, and a live online retreat with Craig. And when you register today, you can receive your first month for 50% off. Go to awakenedlifemembership.com to learn more and enroll. If you enjoyed today's episode, we hope you'll share our show with others. And please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to your favorite shows. If you have a minute to write a short review on your podcast app, we would deeply appreciate your support. You can stay connected to the show by subscribing to our newsletter at meditationchangeseverything.com. Each week, we'll send you new audios and videos from Craig, and we'll also let you know when we release new episodes of the show. If the approach to meditation we've been exploring today inspires you, you are invited to tune into a 90-minute online workshop Craig will be hosting called Meditation 2.0, The Miracle of Direct Awakening. In the workshop, he'll share a powerful new approach to meditation practice and guide you in a series of brief meditation experiments so you can experience it for yourself. You can listen to that at freemeditationworkshop.com. That's freemeditationworkshop.com. Check out our show notes for links to all the ways you can stay in touch with Craig's work. Meditation Changes Everything is created by Craig Hamilton, Susan Fries, Morgan Dix, Stephanie Murphy, Will Bowman, and Richard Klein. From all of us, thank you for tuning in.